Okay, our final lesson on St. Patrick's Day is all about relevés. Back to Lindsay.
Hi, so relevés are when you lift off the ground from a plie, technically. Technically, if you're straight, it's an elevate, but it's all the same. So when we do a relevé in first position, turned out, you want to lift with your heels as close together as possible and your ankles forward. Don't let them roll out this way because that'll cause some really bad injuries. And don't turn your feet into parallel. You can do a parallel relevé, that's great. But right now, we're gonna work on our rotation. So that's a first position relevé. Then second position is a little bit harder because your feet are far apart, should be outside your hips. So when you do a relevé, you really have to push to get your ankle as flexed as possible. So then fourth position relevé, heels are in line. Make sure your weight is centered. And as you lift up, try to keep your turnout. You might feel it in your knee a little bit, so be careful because this one's a little treacherous. But you really have to engage your core and don't let your hips turn off center because one foot is forward. Keep your hips in line with your feet turned out. And then fifth position relevé is actually very important because we use it when we do things like a chassé or a jump turn. So fifth position relevé is called susu. When you're in susu, your heels are crossed and it almost looks like you're standing on one leg. So,
Kind of like when you're on a balance beam if you're a gymnast.
So your thighs should be really tight together, your knees should be almost overlapping, and your heels should be crossed.
All right, that is a fifth position relevé. Okay.
So if you want to put those in an exercise, go over to my pliés video, which will have an exercise with pliés and relevés combined. But for an extra bonus, if you want to work on your balance, a good way to work on your balance is to try to go from a first position relevé to a coupe and hold it. I'm kind of out of practice right now. Or you can go from a second position relevé to a dégagé, which is kind of like an arabesque. Or the hardest one, I don't even think I can do it right now, go from a fifth position relevé to a passe. And hold it for as long as you can.
Okay. Well, thanks for the lesson on relevés. How do we spell relevés? Ding, 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 ding. R-E-L-E-V-E-S. And don't forget the accent mark. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you, Lindsay.